by Mark Kelly, the Democratic senator from Arizona, who we heard from earlier on this hour. And interesting to see them both there, Joe, clearly with this issue in the background, raising their political profile somewhat, or at the very least elevating them to the forefront of the news cycle domestically. Now they are abroad meeting with foreign leaders in many instances, or foreign dignitaries at the Munich Security Conference, all of it profile elevating,
yes,
if
indeed,
you will, including for Senator Kelly and other Democrats who are eyeing for 2028.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what the panel thinks about this, because this is an event that has evolved into a platform for political messaging. You've got a half dozen senators who could be on a list for president, and a couple of House members. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez going to be speaking there as well. Following J.D. Vance's visit last year, it really changed, I guess, the way we look at the Munich Security Conference, which used to be a pretty quiet discussion about defense.
Yeah, and of course, while J.D. Vance gave the big speech last year, it's going to be Secretary of State Marco Rubio giving it this time around. So on that note, let's turn to our political panel. Bloomberg Politics contributors Rick Davis and Jeannie Sheehan Zaino are with us. Rick Davis, of course, Stone Court Capital partner and Republican strategist. Jeannie is Democracy Visiting Fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School's Ash Center and Democratic analyst. Rick, if we could just talk about that. The idea that the Munich Security Conference suddenly seems to be a magnet for people who were at least buzzing about as potential presidential contenders. Is that the platform that we really think it is?
You know, it's served as a platform for global debate quite a bit. John McCain used it to rail against Vladimir Putin on a regular basis, attack the Chinese for violating all kinds of, trade and tariff and treaties. At the end of the day, it has cycled in and out of importance. It is very Europe focused. So ever since the Russians invaded Ukraine, it's been a central focus of debate around the use of force and NATO, unity and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's a place where you go get your spurs. I remember when Elizabeth Warren first indicated to John McCain she'd like to attend. I would say the CODEL, the congressional delegation name, is still the McCain CODEL that goes to Munich every year. So everybody was on the McCain CODEL right now. And he questioned her as to why she wanted to go. Do you want to go just for politics, or you want to go learn something? Those days are gone. Nobody questions your motivation anymore in the Senate. And I have no doubt that, as John McCain used to say, if you're a United States senator, you consider yourself a candidate for president unless you're indicted, intoxicated, or otherwise dead.
Well, we found a couple of them. They've already been on the air here. Jeannie, consider the names. Senator Ruben Gallego, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Maybe we'll put that one aside. He's speaking for the administration, but could be running in 2020. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, California Governor Gavin Newsom. These are some of the folks who have made their way overseas at this moment. Jeannie, is whatever happened to politics stops at the water's edge?
Those days are long over, Joe Matthew. And, it's fascinating because we are sitting here in February 2026, and we are already in the invisible primary. This is what so many Americans can't stand about American politics. This is what so many people overseas look at and scratch their heads. We are constantly in campaign mode. You guys know I'm in favor of it. I love a good campaign, but that's precisely what is going on. These guys and gals are all putting their foot into the water, testing to see how their messages, land, perfecting their arguments, in the process of writing books that they're going to be putting out, all in an effort to get their name in that top, 5, 10, 15, who may be considered for the presidency in 28. And of course, we haven't even had the midterm yet, and we are on the brink of this, 12 hours away, a partial or a fractional government shutdown. So it is just another reminder of why so many people hate American politics. But here you go, they are in campaign mode.
Well, and Jeannie, you're right to point us to the fact that the midterm is what we really need to get through first, which could ultimately be the first real test of what headwinds the Republican Party potentially are going to be facing going into 2028 with President Trump not going to be directly on the ballot, at least we think, and yet very much could be. And as we consider, Jeannie, or it could be in the sense that, people are going to be thinking about him when they vote. Jeannie, as we consider how the winds seem to be shifting around President Trump himself. The idea that his grip on the Republican Party may be loosening a bit, as we saw 6 Republicans vote against him on Canadian tariffs in the House this week. He didn't get, or the DOJ was not able to get the grand jury indictment we were just hearing Senator Slotkin about. Arguably, you could say that there are some losses that are stacking up for the president here. 9 months out to the midterm, do you expect that that's something that could just continue, or can he re-solidify that grip?
I think there is time to re-solidify, but the numbers are brutal. You have him on the most important issue, bar none, according to Axios, 26 points down on the economy from where he was in his first term. He's underwater 15% on the economy today, according to the Real Clear Politics average. They are entirely way off message. I mean, forget about immigration and everything else. This is going to all be about the economy, and his numbers have cratered. The YouGov poll has him a 51-point swing among people in Gen X. Those are bad numbers. And Kaylee, since you are just back with your beautiful baby, I want to tell you that the one thing that stunned me so much when we talk about how off message these people are in the administration is Howard Lutnick, in defense of his visit to Epstein Island after lying about it, said, "Oh, don't worry, I went there with my wife and kid and nannies, plural." And I cannot tell you how many people said to me, forget the Epstein stuff. This man has nannies, and we can't even afford childcare, health care. We can't afford groceries, and he has nannies, plural, that he travels with on vacation. It's part and parcel of a Epstein class that John Ossoff talked about last weekend that is killing an administration led by somebody who says affordability is a hoax. They've got to get back on message. There's time, but it is quickly running out.
Hey, Rick, Senator Slotkin said a short time ago that she expects Marco Rubio to sand some of the edges off of J.D. Vance's speech at Munich last year. What do you expect the administration's message will be?
I think that they've perfected this idea that by the U.S. withdrawing some of its sort of coverage in NATO, that it's made European countries stronger. And I think they're going to want to do a victory lap on that. I think a year into his administration, defense budgets, strategies, discussions amongst partnerships of the Europeans has strengthened the European role in NATO. And sometimes that tough love is what was needed to get that to happen. So there's no doubt that a little different than J.D. Vance's view, which is Europe is a corrupted model that will never succeed. I think that Secretary Rubio has the ability to transition from that to you're stronger today because of our policy, and you should feel good about that, and we certainly do too.
Mm-hmm. Rick Davis and Jeannie Sheehan Zaino, Bloomberg Politics contributors, many thanks to both of you for a great conversation and a great panel. We'll see you on the late edition of Balance of Power